Today, we're going to talk about a thing called the Ten Commandments. Who's heard of Ten Commandments before? Okay, everybody. At least you kind of nodded your head. You've heard of it in some form or another. But the last couple weeks, we've been talking through the story of Exodus. Exodus is really the last kind of great narrative part of what we're kind of going over in this series. What has happened so far is God has spoken to a murderer named Moses. Right? We know Moses as like Prince of Egypt, but Moses was a murderer. He was an outcast. He was the only Hebrew boy his age. So even when he shows up in Egypt, he is not looked upon very kindly. He is an outcast. They haven't seen him in 40 years. He's been in the desert. He's an old man now. And he comes and he says, "Hey, God, this God showed up in a burning bush." And they're like, "Which God?" And he's like, "The God. And he told me that I'm going to help get you out of slavery." And they're like, "Sure, Moses, good luck." A couple weeks later, they're walking out of Egypt because God had dismantled all of the gods in Egypt and completely obliterated their economy and takes them. And what we talked about last week is when we start taking the steps of freedom in our lives, when we step out of our old habits and behaviors, we find our place in this kind of like new limbo neutral place where we're asking the question, now what? What do we do once we've actually taken that step towards freedom? Anybody who's ever overcome an addiction, you know that spot really well, right? Most of your time, your headspace, your actions, your friendships were surrounded by what was causing slavery in your life. But now you've broken something out of it and you're like, I have to make new friends. Ugh, I got to do new habits. I got to go to bed on time. Like this is, and we're in this like new space. So now they have traveled through the wilderness and they have reached the same place called Mount Sinai, where God had spoke to Moses. God gave a message to Moses, said, "You're going to know that I'm God. You're going to know that I'm good because you're going to take all of my people and bring them right back to this mountain." And it's at this mountain, God says, "Okay, I need to lay out some new ways of life, some new possibilities for you." But if you're the Israelites, you're kind of stressed out at this point, right? I mean, you've walked 440 miles. You've seen like clouds of fire and tornadoes burning. You've seen an ocean split in half. Like, and then now you're at the foot of a mountain that the Bible says is on fire and surrounded by thunderstorms. Anybody else? Would you be stressed out? I would be a little stressed, Noah. I'm a little stressed just reading it. What the Israelites are in is what a lot of therapists call survival mode. Okay, they're in this. Here's what survival mode is that you're in this constant state of chaotic stress, and so you're just in that fight or flight at all points. I don't know about you guys, but I know survival mode. Like I feel like probably years and years of my life I've lived fists clenched, shoulders tightened in survival mode, just waiting for the next thing to hit me, waiting for the next bad thing to happen, for the next wrong thing to go. And they're just in this, even though God's doing all of this great stuff, they're now in freedom, quote unquote, but now what? What's going on? We don't even know what to do. Today we're going to read a couple commandments, but they're really these like rules, these regulations for life. It wasn't meant to be religion. It was just how to keep yourself alive. And to us, a lot of them are going to sound like common sense because you grew up with it. Thankfully, you grew up in a Western culture that has forms of morality that agree with this. A lot of our country was built off of these types of moral decisions from here. Unfortunately, sometimes we've taken those things and we use them as weapons against people they were never intended to be used for. And so when you hear the Ten Commandments, you start looking at it from the perspective of how they've hurt people, not how it was meant to help us. Today, I want to try to reclaim that for what God was trying to do. But I think there's a limitation to us following the rules, the way of life that God wanted us to. One of these limitations is because we're in survival mode, we now have so many different options of survival. What I mean is that you have so many different ways to choose to survive. For the Israelites, They don't have a lot of choices. How are we going to drink? Well, God, you got to provide water. How are we going to eat? God, you're going to have to provide food. Where are we going to go? God, you're going to have to show us direction. It's really convenient when you have no other option. That's why a lot of people find their faith at rock bottom. You can't go backwards. You're at the bottom. You can only go up or stay right there. It's unfortunate that a lot of us have to hit our rock bottom before we actually make good, healthy decisions for our life. We need things to break down. So many of us, we need our marriage to be in dire straits before we stop looking at porn. For so many of us, we need to find ourselves headache after headache before we stop drinking. And is drinking a sin? Was sex a sin? No, it was how we abused it. It's how we took it into our life and we just didn't manage it well. So unfortunately, we now have to put regulations on our life. The Israelites are no different than us. I want us to look at the story on how we are still in the same path. These commandments are supposed to be this new way of life to reform new habits, routines, behaviors, all of this stuff. When you hear that today, it sounds like religion. We're going to try to fight that urge for a second, and we're going to look at this. Here, we're going to do a big, long reading right here. Exodus 20. This is where you can find the 10 commandments here. We're going to start in verse 1. It says, then God gave the people all these instructions. The instructions are just words. He gave them these words. I am the Lord your God who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of your slavery. Great. You must not have any other God but me. You must not make yourself an idol of any kind of image of anything in the heavens or on earth or in the sea. You must not bow down to them and worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God who will not tolerate your affection for any other gods. I lay the sins of parents upon their children. The entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations of those who reject me. That sounds really harsh, like God's putting a curse. He's saying your decisions as a parent passes down to your children. If you don't deal with your crap, they will. But I lavish unfailing love for 1,000 generations on those who love me and obey my commands. You must not misuse the name of the Lord your God. The Lord will not let you go unpunished if you misuse his name. Remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath day of rest dedicated to the Lord your God. On that day, no one in your household may do any work. This includes you, your sons, your daughters, your male and female servants, your livestock, or any foreigners living among you. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and everything in them. But on the seventh day, he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. That's a lot. Okay, let's break it down a little bit. I'm going to call these the rules of God. We're going to break the first 4 of these down right here. Let's simplify the commands to this. God is God. This first commandment. You and nothing else are God. Second commandment. Don't say God did it unless God did it. And then trust God and rest. For some reason, that last one's the hardest. Because now he's asking you to do something with the first 3. This is powerful. This can actually kind of, I don't know if you're like me, this can kind of sound a little bit arrogant of God. Like if you have to tell me you're God, I'm a little hesitant to say you're God. It's kind of like choosing your own nickname. You ever have a friend just come up and be like, call me Blaze? And I'm like, no, I'm not. Your new nickname is Idiot now. I think if we only read these 10 commandments, we only read these first 4 out front of a Capitol building, it sounds like God is like a God who is just trying to control people and not state who created people, who made everything, who has the right to make decisions. Well, I think him. But if you haven't gone through the process of reading the backstory and we just throw the book at you, it sounds like he's just slapping your hand anytime you do something for yourself. Right? So if you don't read Genesis 1 to Exodus 19, it's It's just rules. It's just religion. But what do the Israelites, if we can go back, again, I want to encourage you guys to go back and listen to messages. What do they keep getting wrong? They think they're God. Well, we can be like God. I can think like God. I can be God. No, you can't. Well, how do we know that? They keep messing it up. Every time they do this, it gets messed up. It gets ruined. It gets messy and dirty, and they find themselves back in a place going, we need help. And God goes, I've been trying to help. We are still in the same place. It's why we have to hit rock bottom, apparently. Here's how God follows up this. Like, Noah, God is God. Okay? Now, don't put his holy name on things that are unholy. You've probably heard this as quit swearing. Don't say God damn it. Unless, I don't know. You guys might be weird about this. I don't know. Who knows? Welcome to Dwell. Unless God damned it. Because he did. There were several things in which God goes, that doesn't fly. That's not me. That's not holy. At this specific point, what he's looking at is they're coming out of a very mystic culture in ancient Egypt. It was sacrifices, it was offerings. Every little thing had some sort of God that was worthy of a level of worship. There was something. And so what they would do is that they now come out of this and they see, God is good. He is this big God. And what they start doing is they start trying to define God. What we see right after the 10 Commandments are delivered is they go, what God are we following? So they gather all their, Cassie, it sounds crazy to us now, but they gather all their gold, they put it in a big pot and melt it, and then when it cools down, they go, that kind of looks like a cow. It must be God. And the golden calf. That's what this is. And they go, we don't know what it is. We don't know, but we've made it, and so now we're gonna call it. And God goes, that's not me. And that's not holy. I'm going to leave that there. The next thing that he commands us to do is to test him. Did you know in the Bible, God gives you little avenues in which you can test that he's really God? This is wild. Because I don't know about you, I grew up in 90s Pentecostal evangelical church. To test God was to somehow say he wasn't holy or divine or anything like that. Yet, we see in one of his commandments, he goes, hey, rest. Even though you want to work hard, rest. And if you trust me, you'll rest. And if you trust me and you rest, I'll make everything okay. But, right? Well, but my kids, but we got a bill. But what am I supposed to do with my free time? And God goes, how about just start with resting? What would 8 hours of sleep look like? Wild. So my parents in here, you're like, I don't know, I haven't seen it. This is an interesting aspect of God's command to us. He starts off going, I'm God, no other gods. Don't misuse my name. Rest. Relax. Hey, when I made everything, I rested because I trusted the work I was doing. You know, the day after or the day before he rested, what did he make? You. He finished his work, which was a double portion. He made everything that could live, breathe, grow, all this stuff. Then he made a thing that can help these things live, breathe, and grow, a double portion. And then he rested and said, I trust the thing I made. I don't know. Maybe that brought some healing to somebody. Let's keep reading these commandments right here. Exodus 20, verse 12. Honor your father and mother, then you will live a long, full life in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You must not murder. You must not commit adultery. Okay, we're going to group 3 of these commandments together. And these ones I'm going to call the rules of continued life. So the first were the rules of God. How do you know he's God? Follow these rules. It'll happen. How can you continue life well? Follow these 3 rules and they're going to happen. I'm going to simplify them this way to help us understand the background of this. The first one is honor the life before you so life can come after you. Do not take someone's life. Keep the mechanism that creates life holy. Let's walk through this real quick. Okay. I'm trying to do a message without being a 10-point message. You guys with me today? Amen, amen, amen. Okay. Honor your father and mother. This is a hard one, right? For some of us because we didn't or don't have honorable parents. Yet God commands you as a person who follows him to honor them. Okay. You guys ready? Honor, like forgiveness, does not mean allowance and acceptance. Okay. Part of honor is to forgive. And here's what I want to encourage you. Those you hear this and something twists and turns inside of you. That's okay. Let God meet you right where you're at. Okay. You're in the exact spot and this is a good process to go through. The reason why it's a commandment is God knows this is going to be a continued effort that exists within his people. And that doesn't mean Christians, that means all people. To obey what is good and give grace to what is bad. As children, we did our best of what we were handed with us to obey our parents. What we were sometimes taught as children is that our parents are hard to obey because even when we obeyed, we still got punished, right? Okay. We're not going to dig up too much childhood here, I promise. You did the best you could as a child. It is not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. Now it's time to grow up. And you have to move on from your childhood. Remember it, honor it, and learn to move forward. And in this process of maturing past the hurts that was handed to you as your parents, remember the curses of the family will pass through generations. You can stop it. But it starts with honor. It starts with going, there was some good. And the good was I did the best I could as a kid. And now I need to learn how to give grace to the bad that happened. Unfortunately, your parents didn't have their crap together. Guess what? You don't either. You don't. You're learning. Guys, okay, pastor confession. I think I might be the worst dad in here. Like I don't know. Maybe you guys have ever heard this. And you guys go, "Oh no, pastor, come on, you're so nice. You pick your kids up." Like, what a low bar for dads. Like, you changed a diaper. You must be a good father. Okay, let's set the bar a little higher for our dads in here. You don't. By the way, dads, you're not babysitters. You're parents. And so, why am I doing this? Okay. I have those days. I get anger problems, and I got these little kids that cause them. Like, I think they cause them, and all I want to do is kick them in the shins. Like. But then someone will call something on me, and so, right? And they don't understand emotional abuse, so I yell. That's joke, not joke. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and there's like times where I'm just like, I remember looking back, like, now I got a 10-year-old who's just like, he's on that like verge of preteen, like that, and teenager stuff. And oh my gosh, like, and I see so much of my teenage years in him, and I just want to shake him and go, stop. I know where this goes. It's not good, buddy. Like, and then I remember my dad did that. And the grace part of it is I get to go, what did he do that I should do different? Yeah. I can give grace and understand that we are in the same situation, and my urge is to react the same way that he did. Okay, I'm not going to pass that on. I'm going to mess it up, but I'm going to do my best. Okay, move on. Give life, not take it. Don't murder. Duh. Like this one, this is an easy one for us to understand because there are consequences right now. Right? If you went out and you murdered somebody, bye. Like, I'll come visit you. Like, I'll pray for you. I will. I'll do it. Like, there will be a piece of glass between us, but like, I'll come say hi. Like, and but we have a current like problem that happens with that. Let's go a little deeper. Jesus, whenever he talks about this commandment, he says those who have anger in their heart towards somebody have already murdered them in their minds. Okay. Again, I want to kick my kids in the shin. I'm apparently murdering my kids every day, if that's like the same. What is he talking about? He's talking about like the condition of your heart that you would rather something end than something continue. That part, that piece of you. Now, for the Israelites, they did need to know, don't murder people. They're a basic society right now. They're having to set new rules. How can we translate to us today? Quit wishing people were not in your life. Instead, give life, don't take it. Last one right here. God commands that marriage is supposed to be protected. Here's what I mean by this. Did you guys know that there's a mechanism that God created in order to bring life? Do you know what it's called? Yeah. You nailed it. Okay. So, it's true. God made that. Like we didn't like happen on it by our own. Like that's how people are made. That's how this keeps happening. Like I know, right? Birds and bees. Like okay, we're gonna learn this in church today. The container in which God wanted this to exist is within marriage. Now we live in a world that has not been the container that we are most common to. Unfortunately, for whatever, it's where we're at. Okay, it's what we're doing right now. And if you're lying about it, quit. Just let be free in this. So what is he saying in this command right here of not committing adultery? Hey, don't take the mechanism that I created to make life. There's two functions to sex, pleasure, and then procreation. Like these are the two functions, that's it. Don't take the mechanism that I made in order to create life in the confines in which I decided to make it in and insert yourself into it. Don't physically put yourself into it. Let's go a little deeper. Don't have emotional affairs with people. It always starts. Everything that I've ever heard, and I've experienced in other people's lives, any temptation I've ever had in my life, it's never been in the physical at first. Maybe it's because I'm ugly, but like it's always in the emotional. It's always somebody going, "Oh, you're great. Oh, we should just hang out sometime." Like it's just a conversation. It's just a stop. Let the container be its right container right here. Exodus 20, verse 15. We're going to keep going here today. You must not steal. You must not testify falsely against your neighbor. You must not covet your neighbor's house. You must not covet your neighbor's wife, male or female servant, ox or donkey, or anything else that belongs to your neighbor. So don't look at your neighbor's ox. Anybody have that problem? I guess Nebraska, like you might, like, I don't know how far out you live, like you see some cows and you're like, man, those are cool cows. Like, I'd love a burger. Let's simplify this. I'm going to call these the rules of you. These are the commandments 8 through 10. Okay, here's the rules of you. Keep your hands to yourself. Keep your opinions to yourself. Keep to yourself. Yeah. Okay. 7 and 8 are connected. Don't commit adultery and don't steal. That's why it's one right after the other right here. Don't steal my wife. I mean it. Keep your hands to yourself. Like, don't be coming into my marriage and like, we're going to throw hands. Okay. Like I'm telling you, like, and let's go. Let's, because sometimes we hear like steal and like, we're like, I don't steal bread. I don't like do that. But we steal other things from people. We steal emotions from people. We steal opportunities from people. We steal resources in other ways from people. And what stealing is I'm going to take something that I didn't earn and have it for myself. Here's the thing. The reason why you can't take my wife is you didn't earn it. Yeah. I did. I've done the work. Guys, I've done the work, okay? Like I love her, but like, Pastor Natalie's great. Chantel, Pastor Natalie's great. She ain't great all the time, okay? Like, we got 3 kids. Pregnancy's not a good time, okay? Like, there's 27 months that we just went, whew. There were some times, like, guys, I'm just telling you, like, I've earned it. I've done the work. I've taken her on dates. I've asked her about her life. I know her family. I love her family. I've done the work in this. Don't steal my wife. I mean it. Don't steal my opportunities. Don't steal because you didn't earn it. Take what you've earned. Take what God has given. Here's why. It's given freely. If you earned it, you worked for it, walk in it. Don't feel guilty anymore. Come on, some of my like perfectionists out here. I gotta perform. I gotta get. Shut up. You earned it. Like, walk in your promise. Walk in your blessing. You did it. Other people couldn't do it, didn't do it, want to take it from you. Why? Because you're living the good life. You're doing it right. Some of you, you're struggling right now because you're trying to earn it. Keep at it. Keep doing it. Why? Because God's going to bless the people who don't take things out of time. This is the promise that's on you. The next one, it's this one. Okay, I'm going to keep your opinions to yourself. You might hear me right now and think I'm being a little aggressive on the stealing thing. And you might think like, oh, is Pastor Eric like insecure about his marriage? Yeah, but leave me alone. Keep your opinions to yourself. Here's the thing. If you have a problem with me, come to me. In the court of law, if you bear false witness, meaning you say you know something you don't actually know, you are liable to the punishment the person you witnessed against got. Okay. We're going to let that sink a little bit, okay? Don't gossip. Here's the best anti-gossip thing. Relationship. Even if you don't like the person, do you know you can be in a relationship with them? It just means communication. Hey, you did something I don't like. Hey, I heard something about you. I wanted to bring it to you to see if it was true before anything else got about. Someone might gossip to you and you can bring the truth to people. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Yeah. I think we would have healthier churches if we led with this model. Because sometimes we're just trying to help our brother and sister, right? Did you hear? I'm not gossiping. I'm just saying we should pray for them. Like, how about you go pray for them? Go talk to them. The Bible gives us a really good example of how to deal with things that people have done wrong against you. It says, go to them. Talk to them. If they don't agree, bring it to an elder within the church. That doesn't just mean pastor, just someone who can be a wisdom seeker, a mediator within it. If still the person who wronged you doesn't accept it, kick them out of your life. You don't need to interact with them. Which means you also don't need to talk about them. Why? Because that brings them back into your life. Right? And people living rent-free in your head. Like, come on. God ends all of his commandments by reiterating trust in him, which is, I just simply put, as keep to yourself. God ends these commandments, and he has promised to meet all of our spiritual and physical needs, and we should be content in whatever he has provided. The problem that we feel with that is that we don't like all that he's provided. We want a bigger house. We want a better car. We want another resource. And I have some news. I got poor friends. I got rich friends. Whatever category, whatever amount that you think that is. Everyone that I've met all feels the same thing. I got friends who drive Teslas that can't wait for the next model. They just want more. They just need more. I just need that. Someone else has it. Someone else went on vacation. Why don't I go on vacation? Here's the messy thing. Like, does this mean like I can't like want better things, or I can't like look at someone else's like blessing or good thing on their life, and I can't like want for that? Yes and no. Here's what I mean by yes. Like, if that leads you to like disappointment in your life, then yes, quit looking at other people's lives. If it leads you to a place of striving for something great in your life, then yes. In fact, I would encourage you to bring those people into your life. Who you're surrounded by will actually elevate your current situation. The reason why I got friends who are millionaires is not just because I like to say I have friends that are millionaires. I like being around people who are going to challenge my work ethic, who are going to challenge my thoughts and views on money. I didn't grow up in a millionaire household. I don't live in a millionaire household. As a pastor, I don't know if I should be in a millionaire household. Anyways, that's a personal one, just to throw that out there. But I keep people around me that challenge me to a life that I don't have, that I look at and say, there's blessing on you. There's something. I do the same thing with emotionally healthy people. I got friends who are therapists, who are counselors, and I go to them for some free therapy and counseling. Amen. Let's go. Like, here's the thing. Like, some of you guys, like, one of the benefits of Dwell, I got pastors in my life that when I have spiritual questions, when I'm doubting God, when I feel like my faith is shaken, I go to them. I got people who are way smarter, way more spiritual than me. Thank God. They don't say God damn it in church. And I go, I need help. I need something more to show me. Like, get those people in your life. God's not, let's end it with this. 10 Commandments, they're not trying to limit you. They're trying to focus you. It wasn't about what God is taking away. It was about what he's giving. The commandments were never about, okay, now I need to make these Israelites suffer. Now I need to make their life hard. Do you remember? He's taking them to a promised land. And he says, this land is filled with blessing and resource. I have to get you from the mountain to that land. How am I going to get you there? With no rules, no way of following, no regulation in your life? No. Even you, if I told you to get to New York right now, what are you going to do? Put it in your GPS, right? Well, I don't want my GPS to tell me what to do, because then it's controlling me. I like to be a little more free-spirited on my trips. Because sometimes, in order to get east, I go west. What? And it sounds silly in that context, but when I tell you, hey, God doesn't want you to give yourself emotionally to people who are going to hurt you, you go, yeah, but that's called dating. What? God, it sounds like common sense to us, yet we don't live this out in practice. After this, God is going to give 603 more commands. Some of them say, like, don't cut the sides of your hair. And some of them talk about, like, times of month and how you were supposed to procreate and how to do these things. And you go, why do they need these? Because they have nothing. And they need something to tell them how to live, how to move forward. And what we get into, especially some of us who are like, maybe, I don't know, maybe you're like, you've been in the church for a while. Maybe you're like, this is kind of the new word that's existing right now. Maybe you're deconstructing your faith or reconstructing it. Whatever process or thing that you're in right now, some of the things that you're sorting through is this like level of control that it feels like God is trying to have over your life, of that you're not allowed to do anything fun for yourself. And like, yet we get in these situations where we do the thing for ourselves and we find ourselves at a spot needing to reconstruct our faith. And here's the thing, okay? God is not trying to control you. He's actually trying to lead you to a place that he calls self-control. You see, in Galatians, it says the fruit of the Spirit is self-control. But I love this. The fruit of this world is controlling others. Often, it's not about what we want to do. It's how we want the world to be shaped around us. And we're the center of this. Okay, today's been a lot of information, okay? Let's simplify it. You ready, Cassie? If you guys don't remember anything else, just remember what I'm about to say. One of them, an expert in religious law, tried to trap him with this question: Teacher, which is the most important commandment in the law of Moses? Out of the 613, by this time, the Pharisees, the religious leaders, have actually tripled the amount of laws. So God gives a law on how to keep your dishes clean. But you go, really? Yes, it's in the Bible. Then they added 3 more to the process of how to make your dishes clean, and then they called that holy. When God was like, do your dang dishes. And so they go, out of our 1,500 laws, out of all of our laws, which one's the best? Here's Jesus' answer. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. Conveniently, it's the first commandment. A second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law, everything that we're about to go through, because we still got Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. All the demands of the prophets are based on these 2 commandments. What we reviewed today is encapsulated into these 2 commandments. The first 4 are commands on how you treat God. The following 6 are how you treat people. Let me put this to you all here today. I think one of the problems we have in church and the outside world today is that we have this backwards. We want to read the scripture we just read like this: you must love your neighbor with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. A second, equally important, love God as yourself. In doing this, we have incredible compassion for those who let us down. We fight for those who share a few similar opinions to us. We build communities with locked gates. We create divisions based on race, ethnicity, and sexual orientation. In an effort to love with all of our heart, soul, and mind, we ended up closing off our heart, soul, and mind to the one who created it. God becomes a secondary thought. Well, I'm a good person. Look how many people I love. Look how accepting I am. Do you love God? Well, yeah. How do you show it? Well, again, I just told you, look at all the people I love. Look at all the... Okay. Can we go back? Can we go back to the beginning of this? Do you love God? Our thought culminates in love God as yourself, but most of us don't even love ourselves. And we've ignored the first commandment. I wonder in a room like this one if a few people are hearing this now and thinking, that's me, Pastor. I got this backwards. Today, I want to give an option that God is giving Israel right now. Put down an old way of life and to come back to Him.